Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out Mondays, where we tell you what we're into. Start your week off right. I'm Tauri Jay.
I am Lex Michael.
And Lex Michael, what are you into this week, baby boy? We're back after a week hiatus. Everyone wants to hear from you.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. That's
They're
sweet.
like, what is Lex into?
What am I into? Well, what I'm into is not going to surprise anybody. Our recording schedule means we're only getting to talk about it better part of a week after it happened. Actually, when this episode drops, it will be a full week after it happened. But Tauri, it should come as no surprise to you that this entire past week I have been neglecting my responsibilities. I have not been getting any work done. I have spoken to almost nobody. All of my time has been occupied. All of my focus has been occupied. My entire imagination has been captured by the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home.
I see.
We haven't gotten a chance to talk about it. I've been waiting. I've been sitting on it. I was thinking about texting you, being like, let's do this now, and we'll just publish the texts on our Instagram. But no, I've been wanting to talk about it. A lot of people, of course, been talking about it over this past week. A lot of theorizing, a lot of big reveals in the trailer. Of course, came hot on the heels of Endgame, because that movie is coming out in July, so you really got to ramp up the marketing cycle now.
Right.
I love that Tom Holland recorded that little intro saying, like, spoilers, if you're one of the 5 people on the planet who hasn't seen Endgame yet, turn back now. And of course, we open with Tony Stark is dead, and Peter's trying to deal with that. Then he's going on his school trip, bumps into Mysterio and whatnot. But in this trailer, we get confirmation of the existence of a multiverse in the MCU. Nick Fury explains it as the snap. One of the snaps, like 3 of them between 4, right? Because Thanos snapped the first time, then off-screen Thanos snapped the stones out of existence, then they did the time heist and Hulk snaps everybody back, and then Tony snaps Thanos and the army away. So there's 4. So one or more of the 4 ripped a hole in space-time, essentially.
Yeah.
And allegedly, this is where Quentin Beck Mysterio originates from. I guess really quick, I want to ask you, what did you make of the trailer before I lay out what I'm assuming is going on here?
I mean, I like a lot of the theming in it. I do like that we get the introduction of the multiverse, only because that means that we may get Spider-Man, what is it, 2099?
Yeah.
Because we're getting the multiverse in a Spider-Man franchise, I'm assuming that we will be able to start expanding that universe as well.
Right.
I mean, I think, like, my original assumption from the first teaser trailer was that Mysterio was creating the elementals and parading as a hero.
That was my assumption as well.
And now we get the idea that he comes from another universe. And so, I mean, it could be genuine, but it could also still be a ruse. I hope that even if it's a ruse, it doesn't negate the multiverse stuff.
So that's now what I'm thinking after this trailer. Of course, we'll see. It's not too far off. We'll see a couple of months from now. But my thinking is multiverse, real thing. Because I feel like Nick Fury wouldn't be that easily fooled. I feel like he wouldn't call other heroes in if he didn't have very solid reason to believe at least the multiverse aspect was on point. But Mysterio, Quentin Beck's whole thing is theatricality and deception. That's his whole jam.
Right.
So even if he does come from another Earth, which frankly I am not convinced of yet, I would still assume he's responsible for the elementals in some way. Even if he didn't create them himself, I wouldn't be shocked if he is from another Earth that he brought them with him.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah. I also like the idea of him coming from multiverse, in that, like, it leaves us not having to deal with his origin story.
Right. I'm sure they'll touch on it a bit, but we don't have to go back and
we don't have to watch it. We don't have to see him being like, I'm gonna put a bowl on my head.
Right.
He just comes with the bowl on his head.
It's
know.
Just
I love fully fledged.
I love that we've arrived in the age. You remember, like, when X-Men came out, we were still in a phase of being embarrassed that it was a comic book movie. So much so that the idea of putting them in their comic accurate costumes was just too horrifying to think about. That's why you get that line in X-Men, the would you prefer yellow spandex? And now we've arrived at the era of comic book movies where the headwear game is so on point. Aquaman, you had the big Black Manta laser helmet and Orm's emoting hat, and now we're actually getting comic accurate Mysterio with the giant bubble helmet. And you know who else loves that costume is Jake Gyllenhaal. Apparently, some set visit reports have come out, and they were talking about how apparently Gyllenhaal liked that costume so much that there were scenes that were scripted where he was wearing like a t-shirt and jeans, and he said, no, I'm doing it in the costume. That makes me so dang happy.
Right. I hope that they're just mundane scenes. It's like, hey, you want to go grab some coffee? It's like, hell yeah, suit it up.
Well, there's a shot in the trailer, if I recall correctly, where it looks like they're sitting in maybe it's an empty bar, and they're talking to each other, and it looks like he's sitting there wearing the costume.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. I also loved deeply, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Bitch, please, you've been to space.
Yes. It was a really enjoyable trailer. I was curious where it was going to take place in the timeline. And now we know that it definitely takes place after Endgame.
Yes.
And I like that they're kind of setting up Peter to fill in the space that we lost in Endgame.
Right. They have the line in the trailer that says, the world needs the next Iron Man.
Right.
And I'm wondering, too, maybe that line is in the movie, maybe it's not, but maybe at first he assumes that Quentin Beck could be that person, could potentially be that hero, and I would assume over the course of the film realizes that he himself may have to step up and fill that void. I think maybe the highest compliment that I can pay this trailer is after Endgame, I knew that I'd keep going to see these, of course, but I assumed I was done being real excited for any of them.
Yeah.
And I watched that trailer and I went, holy shit, why can't I see this right now? Like, I started to get very frustrated. I was like, what do I do with myself because I can't watch this now?
Put yourself in cryo sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we need cryo chambers to be commercially available, so that if there's a movie coming out that I want to see, I just hop in, sleep for a while, pop out not having aged, and I can go see it.
Exactly. You'll be the Winter Soldier of movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in LA, Sebastian Stan's like, hey, I'm the Winter Soldier of movies.
Call me when you wake up only to watch stupid movies. But yeah, I'm excited for it as well, especially because we're now getting into phase 4, which yes, right?
They decided late in the game, pretty recently, not long before Endgame premiered, I believe, that they were considering Far From Home the tail end of phase 3.
Ah, okay.
Much like Ant-Man was the official close of phase 2, which followed up a massive Avengers movie.
Right. So, but it also is opening the door for a lot of new things,
yes,
which I think is a good way to, I guess, wrap out phase 3.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm also excited. I hope it means that we get a lot more Spider-Man. I mean, I like in that I have been talking about how I want there to be like a young Avengers. I want that to be the next phase of things. Mm-hmm. Like we have all of these new Avengers coming in, and now we can do like a generational thing.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I want this to start heading, and I hope that this means that we're going to, especially if they're like, oh, you could be the next Iron Man. It's like, maybe he can.
I'm eagerly anticipating when they finally introduce Miles into these things.
Soon.
No, you'd got to think, right? Like, yeah. Especially because Spider-Verse did as well as it did. The awareness for that character, I feel, has never been higher. I feel like at the latest, by the third one of these Spider pictures, right? I feel like it's a no-brainer. But I would also, if we're introducing a multiverse, I would love to see more of the alt-universe Spider-Man. Like, how amazing would it be if somewhere down the road you actually get Nick Cage to show up as Spider-Man Noir? Like, that would make me insanely happy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, so that's that. I'm gonna talk about my thing now.
Talk about your thing, dude.
I'm gonna talk about all right, it's Hey, get your mind out of the gutter.
Stop dragging me into the gut. You're like the Pennywise of this shit. You're like, hiya, Georgie, look at my thing. And Georgie's like, no. And then you drag Georgie down anyway.
Come on down, Georgie.
We all float. Floats. It's like, is that your Pennywise? Float.
But no, my thing is yellow, and it's about 1.5 feet tall, and has a little rosy cheeks, and it's Detective Pikachu.
I was gonna say a big happy banana.
Yes. No, I went to go see Detective Pikachu this weekend.
I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give any spoilers.
Okay.
That's not what I do on Missing Out Mondays. I keep my Missing Out Mondays spoiler free. Lex Michael.
I've never listened.
Yeah. Well, you should start. It's a great show. But I really liked it. It was fun. If you've been a Pokemon fan for a while, like, it manages to give you a world that you would love to live in. Like, they use Pokemon the way that they would exist in a world that had them. Like, Rattatas are the rats, and Pidgeotos are the pigeons, and like, you have these great landscapes where, like, Bulbasaur are just wandering around. Like, you know, Machamps are doing menial jobs. It's a world where people are, like, living in harmony. And I really like the main character, whose name I forget, the actor's name, so I'm just going to keep calling him Tim. I really like his interaction with Detective Pikachu, who is played by Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is basically doing a PG version of Deadpool.
That's what it looked like, but is it effective?
It's fun. There are a couple moments where, like, some of the quips are kind of take you out of it because they're too, like, I guess they're too relatable to our world, and they open more questions. So there's one which this isn't a spoiler, but he goes, there's a big thing happening where they're in a forest and forest stuff is happening. And he goes, at this point, can you really deny global warming? And it's like, that's not how that works. Another time he mentions France, and I'm like, does France exist in this world? So there are a lot of things.
That's true, like, I suppose, right? Because in the Pokemon universe, it's like Johto and Kanto and whatnot.
Right, and those are technically, like, regions of Japan, but, like, it's still, like, I think that those are that's their whole world.
Right.
So things like that I find weird, but there is Japanese writing all over the place, so who knows?
Yeah.
But overall, like, I think that it is it's a fun detective story. It has a lot of good twists and turns. It very much feels like an homage to, like, noir. Mm-hmm. Like, it has a lot of the same beats. It has a lot of the same like, even just, like, the way that they investigate is very noir-y and stuff like that. It has a very heartfelt, like, storytelling in terms of the main character's arc. So yeah, and also, I'm trying to figure out if what I'm gonna say is a spoiler. I don't think it is. It takes place in the universe that you're familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I would err on the side of not going further, but that feels like that's enough that I feel teased but not spoiled.
Right. Because I feel like it goes out of its way to be like, the things that you know are canon in this world, which I think is great. Like, it doesn't shy away from existing in the world you're familiar with while adding to that canon.
I know that one. But I have managed to not have anything spoiled for me either, but I have heard just a couple very non-spoilery background details that make me happy. And also, what makes me the most excited to actually go check it out is the range of opinions I've heard regarding Detective Pikachu. On the one end of the spectrum is it's good, and on the other end of the spectrum is weird as shit, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yep.
Yeah. And I haven't heard a single negative thing about it. Just, it's good and or it's fucking weird. Which, honestly, if you want to sell a ticket to me, that's all you got to say is be like, yo, this is some weird shit. And be like, all right.
Yeah. And it like doesn't shy away from the weirdness at all. Like it definitely feels like a love letter to people who love Pokemon.
And I have read that the protagonist feels very much designed for people who grew up with Pokemon and are now just a little bit older.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because he, you can tell that he's existed in a Pokemon world, but is also trying to live like an adult.
Yeah.
Which is what we all are. We're all grown-ups until they come out with Pokemon Shield and Sword, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, I'm getting a Nintendo Switch. I guess I'm doing that now." Or you're like, "What? Pokemon Go? Hell yeah, I'm gonna quit my job." Or at least that's what I did. I was like, I need to catch them all. I hear they're doing a Mewtwo release, guys. I need it.
Were you ever a Pokemon cards person?
I collected them to sell them to people on the playground.
That's fair. That's most of what they were good for. Did anybody really play the card game, or did they collect and trade, essentially? Like, I had a bunch of them, but I don't recall. If I played once, that would have been more times than I recall playing.
I tried to play it a few times. It's tough. It's difficult. I was also never a big playing card game person.
Right. I wasn't. I mean, does Uno count?
It doesn't.
Collect
if you're
Uno
talking
cards
about
and trade with your friends. Like,
Yeah.
I'm missing 4, and you have 4. I'll give you 2 7s for a 4.
Yeah.
I don't remember how that game works.
No, it doesn't count. I mean, because we're talking about things like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh,
Right.
and
Yeah,
stuff
and
that.
I've never done the tabletop games like that. I've never
Yeah.
done. But I do remember one of the biggest moments of my childhood was when I found first edition holographic Articuno card in a booster pack.
Ooh.
That was a big moment for me. I was like, oh my God, this is finally a win. And I guess I used up all my karmic juice because I ain't had one since.
Did you sell it? Did you?
Honestly, I have no clue what happened. Like the people that collected a bunch of them, I had one of those binders. You just keep the cards in there. I had a binder that was loaded with Pokemon cards, and I have no idea what happened to it.
I assume someone stole it. Probably Team Rocket.
There you go.
Yep.
They're just stockpiling them. It's like, why? We don't know.
I mean, because it'll give them power. It's like step 1, steal Pokemon cards. Step 2, step 3, profit.
Right. This is like very underpants gnomes logic.
Yeah.
Do you remember though? You could go into a card shop and people would pay $100, $150 for a single card.
Yeah. I mean, the 90s and some parts of the early 2000s were simpler time, man. People were buying Beanie Babies for thousands of dollars. We were all about those collectibles. And then 9/11 happened and we stopped.
That's true.
Yeah. We were like, oh, shit, they're bigger fish to fry.
Right. And now nobody has money for hobbies like that.
Right. Well, that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, so yeah, I highly recommend people go see Detective Pikachu if you haven't seen it.
Cool. I'm going to try and check it out this week.
I hope that this opens the door to get more Pokemon movies. I hope that they're able to expand this world to not even just Detective Pikachu. You just get you get a random trainer and he's like, oh man, or she's like, oh man. Or they are, both of them, are like, oh man,
yeah.
Let's fucking go on this Pokemon quest. Let's find Ho-Oh, or Ho-Oh, I think is the actual name of
I think Pokemon Gold was the last one I played.
Pokemon Gold was good. I was a Soul Silver guy myself. So what? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Lucario's better.
That may in fact be true, but I wasn't about it at the time.
But yeah, so I really hope that we get more of these. Just because the graphics were great, and also it's so fun. It's a fun world to just splash around in.
Well, and two, this is maybe the first video game movie that's come out actually based directly on a video game that people seem to like a lot.
I don't know if you've seen the first Mortal Kombat, but it's great.
Okay, I mean like a lot unironically.
How dare you? You're fired from this podcast.
I mean, I'm not going to die on that hill. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen it. But no, in my opinion, prior to I haven't seen this yet, but prior to this, I would say the two best video game movies aren't based directly on a video game at all, and they're both made by Edgar Wright. And one is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is it's video game language back to back, and the other is Baby Driver, specifically the section towards the end where he's got to bail out of this job and he's on the run from the police and he's running through trees, and you get these shots where it's like boom, pans up super hard to a helicopter that's following him, and I'm like, there's no reason now to make a Grand Theft Auto movie. He did it. Like, you're not going to do it better than this.
Right.
But now, okay, yeah, hopefully this does open the door, but maybe people can take the right lessons from this movie, because it's not enough to just take iconography, throw it at the screen, and hope people will like that enough that you don't really have to tell a coherent story.
Yeah.
Hopefully people take the right lessons and not let's adapt every video game, but poorly.
Yeah. No, if you're listening, the right lesson is to give a compelling story and just set it in that universe. Like, just let your universe exist, created by loving art creators, and then have your characters just exist in that world. Do world building and let your characters just live there.
Yes.
You know? But yeah, what are you guys into? What do you like? Did you see Detective Pikachu? What do you think are the implications of the Spider-Man trailer? Guys, let us know at Missing Outcast, MissingOutcast. That's on Twitter and Instagram, baby. Lex, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at the Lex Michael.
Awesome. I'm at Tauri Jay, Taorijay. Don't you join us tomorrow for our discussion with our good friend Malik McRae. He is coming back to talk about what we do in the shadows. He also, as part of the People's Collective, have released a fun mockumentary, and he wants to talk about the process of putting that together and the creative process in general and putting content out there. Even if you're not super well known, it's going to be a really great discussion. We hope that you tune in. This being Monday is the day after Mother's Day, so we hope all of you guys took care of your mothers. If you're a mother, we hope that you felt good, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.